When people say stuff crazy to you, do you respond or do you react? And I think there's a huge difference between responding and reacting, because responding is more of a thoughtful process. You took a minute to think about it. Well, reacting is you just say it. And there's been oftentimes I've said stuff and it was like that toothpaste that came out the tube. Once it came out, you really couldn't put it back in. That's why I need to get some wisdom. Oh, yeah. Hello, everybody. Mr. Brown here with day 15 of our series, Get Wisdom. I'm so happy you joined us. And I got a voicemail the other day from someone from our 24-hour feedback phone. That number is 530-535-8121. You can leave a message. You can leave a comment in this description of our on YouTube or wherever you find this, even on iTunes. If you're listening, thank you for listening. And by the way, if you're listening, I'm sorry sometimes if I talk about visual things and forget that you're listening and you can't hear it, but you can always go watch the YouTube channel. Just go to Proclaim Ministries on YouTube and you can watch and see all my hand motions and all my mannerisms and stuff like that. But anyway, thanks for joining us for this series. And today, this verse really talks about, I think, the difference between responding and reacting, especially when it comes to our words. When people say stuff to us, we get heated quickly, especially if they offend us. And there's certain trigger words like the B word. Somebody call, I talk to them all the time. What if somebody call B? What are you going to do? And they just, I'm going to go off. I'm going to snap. I'm going to do this. we going to be fighting, right? Because they get offended, right? And there's certain other words that people say and they just automatically want to fight. They go from, cool to physical. But there's other things that are just, people may make a mistake. They may step on your shoes. They may say something and didn't mean it in a way that they came across. And sometimes we have a choice to respond to what they said or react. We always have a choice. And as I talk all the time, choose well. Oh, yeah. We should choose well, because when we make better choices, we'll live a better life. And I think that's kind of what Proverbs is all about. Like if I was to give Proverbs a title, I'd say it's about this. When you make better choices, you will live a better life. When you choose not to be sluggish and lazy and you choose to be diligent, better things happen. When you choose not to follow the way of foolishness or folly, as it says in Proverbs, but follow the way of wisdom, life will be better. When you make better choices, you live a better life. So when people say things to us, we need to be ready to respond in the right way. Our verse today is Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1, which says this: a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The idea is that if someone says something to you and you think about it, you respond in a very thoughtful way to de-escalate situations versus escalating situations, then things will be better. But if you respond in a way that escalates things, then you got anger going on. And we've all been in situations, if you haven't, keep living, where someone says something to you and you have a choice. You can add some fuel to the fire, or you can add some water to the fire and try to quench it. And what we have to really think about is, what do we ultimately want? What is the end game here? What do you want to see happen as this confrontation takes place, or the situation takes place? Do you want to end up in a fight? Well, then add fuel to the fire. Do you want to calm things down? Well, learn how to give a soft answer. Give a soft answer to someone and try to de-escalate the situation, because anybody can add fuel, but a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. And there's so many situations that I can think of in my life that have happened where either I did not respond and things got heated really, really quick, or I had to stop and think about, what do I really want in the end? Because a lot of times we want to be right. We always want to be right, especially in marriage. Like, I want to be right. No, not really. Sometimes I prefer to be wrong, because then sometimes we can get to a solution and like to grow that way. But most of us want to be right. But here's the question. Here's the question you got to ask yourself. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be heard? Do you want to be right, or do you want to be heard? And sometimes you can be both. But it's how you respond, how you give that answer to someone who said something off to you, how you respond, because you can be heard and be right. But sometimes we don't care about how it comes across, because we're right. Our rights have been, somebody hurt our feelings, and I have the right to say what I want to say, and we have to be very careful. Now, I have a story in mind that I'm not going to share, because I was a teenager and I didn't respond rightly to it. I mean, I did. Now y'all want to know what the story is, right? You're like, well, you need to tell the story. I'll tell you part of it. All right, here, I'll tell you part of the story. If you come to a live event, I'll tell the whole story, but I don't want it to come across the wrong way on the internet and on podcasts forever and ever and ever, because somebody could take it the wrong way. Well, when I was growing up, we were bused. We were lived in inner city Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we were bused part of what they call the 220 program. And I was bused to a suburban school. And some of the kids didn't like that. Some of the parents didn't like that because it was part of the desegregation stuff, and they didn't like all that, right? Some people didn't. And so, but for the most part, we got along as kids because, whether we're black or white, we didn't have all that stuff. We learned a lot of that stuff from our parents or grandparents, and not because Willie was cool. That was my boy. We could play football and basketball. I mean, I didn't care about Willie being white. He was my boy, right? And so, but as we got older, some kids didn't like it. So I remember one day a kid came up to me, smaller than me. He came up to me, called me the N-word, the derogatory word, the N-word, okay? He called me that. And I thought to myself, what is going on? He's much smaller than me. If we fight, he's not going to win. So what is he really trying to do? He's trying to get me mad. He's trying to get me upset. He wants me to fight him because most time when you call somebody that word, them is fighting words. Let me just say that them is fighting words, right? We go fight. You offended me. Ain't nothing else to say. You drew the card. We go fight, right? But I wasn't that kind of person. I'm like, what is going on here? Why is this going on? I had to think about it. He wanted me to hit him so I would get in trouble. I would get suspended or expelled from school for starting a fight, even though he said some words that were very offensive. But I threw the first punch. And I thought to myself, okay, what is he after? And when I figured out what he was after, I figured out that I wasn't going to respond that way. I said something to him in my response, and I'm not going to tell you my response because it wasn't a good response, but it left the point that I'm not going to hit him. Now, what I should have did was de-escalate the situation, but I kind of escalated it. And I put the burden on him. I said something to make him mad. Now he really angry. He want to hit me, but he want to hit me because it wouldn't end it well, and he would have got in trouble anyway. So my point is this: I wish I'd have had some Proverbs in my life back then to learn how to respond, because that's a tough one. That can be a really tough one when somebody insults you that way. But I believe if we listen to the Proverbs and listen to this teaching from Scripture, if we learn how to give a soft answer, because that soft answer will turn away wrath. It will de-escalate situations, even in your own marriage. I'll give you another story real quick. That I was with this couple, and we're in the car one day together, and then the husband was driving, and I was behind the wife in the passenger seat. She was I was behind her, and the kids were in the car, and she said something to him that was cutting. It was like, and I was like, ooh, I wish I wasn't here right now. I didn't want to be here. And the interesting thing was, he looked at her after she said it. He looked at me in the rearview mirror. He looked at her again, then he looked at me. He was embarrassed by what she said because she said it in front of me. But she was just upset, and I don't think she really meant it. But when he looked at me the second time, I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I was like, please don't do it. Don't do it. But he said something to her that was even more cutting. It was like, ooh. I mean, I felt like I was watching a boxing match, verbal, right? And I thought to myself, man, I wish he would have just took it and gave that soft response or that soft answer, but he didn't. He gave a harsher answer, and boy, I tell you, that ride was not pretty. I did not want to be. I would rather be on the street walking because it was not a pretty ride. And at one point, it just became silent. And that kind of silence that is like so silent is loud. And I learned from that. I learned from that personally. And when I was single, I loved being around married couples because I could learn a whole lot from them, good and bad. And that was one of the bad ones where I think, man, he should have took the hit and ran with it, but he just, he couldn't handle it because he was embarrassed in front of me. But my point is, and the point of this verse is, think about your own life. And when people try to pull your button, to pull your strings, or people do things, whether they meant it or not, how can you turn it around and respond and have a soft answer that will de-escalate situations? And that's the way I think is responding versus a harsh word, which is simply reacting, and everybody's angry. And I hope that helps you students too, even parents. Parents, when your kids say stuff to you, don't let your kids dictate how you're going to respond to them. Don't let your kids push your buttons. Don't be the TV and they have the remote control, because they will say things that get at you and you respond all upset and they got you all mad. Don't do that. Instead, take a soft answer and say, you know what, I'm good. Now you got to deal with your problem. I'm not upset. You're upset, and I'll help you with being upset. But I think this verse is really clear. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So will you choose well and try to practice giving that soft answer? Because if you do, I believe you'll be applying and getting some wisdom. Oh, yeah.